Here's my review of the round 3 tiebreaks from the FIDE World Cup. It seems to me that many of these matches were decided by tactical errors. The players that went through were the ones that managed to hold their nerve and maintain their concentration. So let me start with the game between Ding Liren from China and Vidit Gujarati from India. Here, this is the second 25-minute game. The first one was drawn. Here, well, White has typical space advantage from a closed Catalan. With these pawns here, Ding has played the pawn c5, and that prevents Black breaking out with c5. So White has a space advantage, and now Ding played a very sneaky move, knight g5. This, very often you find tactics occur on this diagonal in the Catalan, and well, Ding had prepared something very nasty indeed. The game went pawn takes pawn, and now instead of recapturing, d5 is incredibly strong, opening up the bishop's diagonal. Vidit recaptured, or captured on d5, and then bishop takes f6. Now if this is recaptured, then the queen can take on h7. And now if queen h8 check, the king goes to e7, but the point is White has rook takes e6. Well, a very typical kind of tactic actually for these kind of positions. So the threat is now queen h8 mate, because the rook prevents the king running away. And if pawn takes rook, then the knight forks king and queen. Very sweet. So in this position, after bishop takes knight, Vidit just had to play g6, but now he's just basically a piece down for nothing, and Ding won very comfortably. So Ding Liren goes through. Fabiano Caruana against Yevgeny Nair. Well, first game was drawn, and then, well, Caruana basically got outplayed very badly in this game. You can see that Nair has a wonderful passed pawn on c3. His pieces are really well coordinated, in particular that bishop, solidly protected in the middle of the board, is a beautiful piece. I mean, that really holds Black's position together, and you know, looks in all directions actually. Wonderful piece. So Black must be winning here, but the way that Nair actually finished things off was very beautiful. Of course, if he manages to put a rook down here, that would be pretty good. If you play rook b8 straight away, then bishop c1 kind of holds the fort for a little bit. So Nair played rook a8, another very sneaky move, attacking the pawn. Caruana defended, and now Nair played the rook to b8, threatening rook b2. Caruana put the bishop back to defend, but now the rook, instead of being on d1 defending f1, it's now on a1, and in this case queen f1 is checkmate, protected by the rook, and that all-powerful bishop covers the h2 square. So Fabiano Caruana is knocked out, beaten by Yevgeny Nair, a very, very experienced Russian player. He was European individual champion in 2015, for example, but he has a string of tournament victories to his name. You know, just another one of the many, many Russians who are incredibly talented but don't always get their chance to shine, but seems to be his moment. Let's go to the match between Richard Rapport and Li Chiao. Now Rapport is having a great tournament. So he's playing Li Chiao from China, rated 27.45. Rapport at the moment only rated 26.75, although we know he is such a talented player and capable of really beating anyone in the world. Here Rapport, well, he's played an excellent game and he's a piece up, and this is a technical win with an extra piece. Rapport is basically bringing his king around in this direction so that he can attack black's pawn on g6. But Li Chiao has set a really nasty trap. I was watching this live and I watched how Rapport picked up his king and played it to e6, didn't take his hand off the piece, realised that was a mistake, and then played his king to d6 instead. If he'd played king e6, which of course looks very natural, then rook e4 check would force rook takes rook, and suddenly the king is stalemated, a draw. But instead Rapport saw that that was a mistake at the last moment and switched and put his king on d6. In that case, well, after rook e4 you simply don't need to take the rook. And well, after a few moves he won very, very easily. Here, let's just see final few moves, and here, well, Rapport simply gave up the piece and won the rook and pawn endgame very, very simply just by advancing the pawn. So Rapport goes through, convincing victory for him. Now, Alexander Lenderman against Maxime Vachier-Lagrave. Lenderman, of course, have been having a great tournament, but this was the first of the 25-minute games, and Maxime is, well, apart from being one of the strongest players in the world, full stop, he is a real specialist in rapid chess and blitz chess. And although white is probably still okay here, you can see that with this rook on the second rank, potentially very dangerous passed pawn and an active knight, black certainly has excellent practical chances here. If white plays knight f2, then Lenderman is probably still okay here, but instead he played knight c5. Under pressure he played knight c5, and after the simple move rook c2, pinning knight to the rook, then black is winning. If, let's say, e6 takes, instead of trading rooks you can play d3, and that is fatal. That pawn is going to go through, or white will have to give up material. So Lenderman tried rook takes f7, attacking the knight, but simply king g6, and now the rook is attacked and the knight. And after e6, rook c5, well, black was just a piece up there. So Maxime Vachier-Lagrave goes through into the next round. See, it's all about very simple tactics. Often when players are short of time, they lose concentration, or they're just under pressure and things fall apart. Now, Anish Giri against SP Setharaman from India. Well, they traded victories in the first two 25-minute games. So it was 1-1, then they went to two 10-minute games, and at this point Anish Giri started to take control. This was the first of the 10-minute games. Giri is a pawn up. You can see black's king is under serious pressure here. He's lacking an f-pawn, and these light squares are very, very weak. And here Giri, well, very tactically aware, played rook d4, and that sets up something very, very nasty. Well, a couple of very, very potent threats actually. Setharaman played h5 to, hopefully prevent this move, rook g4, but bishop e4 is an absolute killer. I don't think there was a way for black to avoid defeat here, but bishop e4 is very nice. Obviously there's a pin there, and that was taken, but now rook h8 check. So if king takes, then queen takes, and that's completely over. So Giri won the first of the 10-minute games, and he made no mistake in the second. So Giri is already a pawn up here. He has the black pieces, and you can see that, well, white's bishop looks very beautiful in the center of the board. This is true, but this dark squared bishop, at the moment it's behind the pawn chain, but Giri knew exactly what to do. If he can bring the bishop to this wonderful diagonal, then that is going to be a killer piece, particularly in combination with this wonderful knight on g4. Bishop d8 is an excellent starting move. And after this trade, well, let's see what happened. Queen came to this superb diagonal. Knight a4, trying to prevent the bishop coming here, but bishop d7 is a good move. Hitting the knight came back. And now, well, a very simple tactic. Of course, bishop b6 is also a strong move there, although knight d3 would hold. But knight takes pawn is fatal, of course. If queen takes, then bishop b6, pin and win. So Setaraman tried c5 to close the diagonal. But, well, now black is 2 pawns up, and there are still huge problems for white on this diagonal. For example, let's see what happened. Giri's technique was perfect here. Bishop take, and now here's a very attractive move. Bishop b6, so the bishop does reach the diagonal. Of course, if that's taken, then white's king is in deep trouble. King f1, queen f2 mate, or if king h1, then knight f2 forks king and queen. So after bishop b6, well, the queen came back. Bishop takes pawn check, and black is now 3 pawns up with beautiful pieces, and it didn't take long for Anish Giri to win that game, so he goes through into the next round. Let me finish with the match between Bardo Jobava and Jan Nepomniachtchi. So 2 very entertaining players. This was the second of the 25-minute games, and here, well, Bardo has managed to get his knight to this beautiful f6 square. So white is attacking here. Black is certainly under pressure. You know, there's a chance that this rook will come down the board to a7, supported by the queen. This rook is very active. Does black really want to take here and allow a pawn on f6? Well, he should probably do this, although you know, of course, black will always have to be very careful about his back rank and a potential queen coming in here. So, you know, I can understand why, short of time, Nepomniachtchi decided that maybe he didn't want to do that, and instead played rook here, blocking off this diagonal, and looks like he's coordinating his pieces. Unfortunately, he missed a huge tactic. Queen takes rook, and that was the end of the game and the end of the match. Of course, if rook takes queen, knight e8 check. There you go, another knight fork deciding one of these games. So as I said, a lot of these matches decided by tactical errors, but that's what happens when you're short of time and under pressure. So let me give you the pairings for the next round, the round of 16. So we've gone from 128 players to just 16 players. Bu against Svidler. MVL plays Grushuk, now that's quite a match. Ivanchuk plays Giri, another very exciting one. Aronian plays the young Russian player Dubov. Wesley So plays Bardo Jobava. Fedoseev plays Rodstein. Nair plays Rapport, and Wang Ha plays against Ding Liren, an all-Chinese battle. So things really hotting up in the World Cup, and I hope you're enjoying it as much as I am.